We haven't even started yet.
Dang it, Alan. See, you got to cut me off if you start seeing, if once I start getting that look, you know the look. You guys all know the look.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
on this call has permission to go, Matt, the button, hit the button,
The
and then go.
button.
Continue.
Hit the
Matt,
button.
Matt needs to have about 4 co-hosts so that someone can just for him.
For the love, people. Thanks, Alan.
You might
For
want to
the
repeat that word we're not allowed to say anymore now.
yeah.
For the both.
Yeah, perfection. That's the swear word. It should be like a beep. Anyways, yeah. Somebody add to this conversation. What
I,
go?
I would say, so I was on that call yesterday too, and the gal they were calling out was like number 5 in her state.
No, she was
And
like, I think the number one in her state was like number 5 at the company.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. So she's like, I guess I just wanted to point that out because that goes to show you that even people at performing at extremely high levels have areas to continue to grow.
What did she say her excuse was?
It was really
It was fear.
based. And I think that also was another point I was going to make is the more conversations I have with these high producing agents, the more I hear the same message. It's not that they are doing things with great confidence and moving forward. It's that they're not letting their fear stop them. They're doing things scared. And I think that's what we all have to remember is that, myself included, this is my own TED talk to myself here, but you have to jump in and do it scared. No one, rarely, if ever, do successful people start at the bottom saying, I got this. I have 100% confidence. I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. This agent's doing over $1 million in GCI and is afraid to do a video. Brad's face is exactly right. Like the
Right?
fuck? The what? Right.
Okay.
So help me understand that, right? Here's the thing. What did she do? She got really consistently, like she got really hyper focused and hyper consistent on what she was really good at. Here's the thing. It probably wasn't good at the beginning, but then just became so good at it through time and repetition that it became like that's now her identity. And so asking somebody that's so good at this to just step over here for a second and do something new and something vulnerable and something raw and something a little unknown, even somebody that's doing $1 million, they go, oh, I don't know, I'm scared. And so here's the thing, at that level, scared of what? Well, there's thousands of past clients, there's thousands of agents following, there's just a larger group that could have an opinion. Guess what? You're always going to have 1 or 5 or more. Right?
The guy that was, so it was her, it was the girl Mary who had done like the 150 houses or whatever. Then there was the guy Joe who had done his, he made his video, but he hadn't posted it because he didn't like the way the Fiverr guy did the editing and everything. So one of the coaches was like, okay, Audrey, how much time did you spend on this video? And I was like, I mean, I had 2 weeks to complete this project. And so I watched a bunch of videos, took notes, and I just wrote the script and did it probably max like 4 or 5 hours. He's like, okay, who did the editing for you? I was like, well, I did. He said, what'd you record it on? I was like, my laptop. I mean, it was not any kind of fancy anything. He's like, and what big platform did you put it on? I was like, my free YouTube account. And he's like, okay, so this guy's not posting it because he doesn't like the way it was produced on his from the Fiverr guy. And you just did it on your laptop and put it out there. And I was like, yeah. And that, I mean, I kind of struggle with that same thing too. Like the word that we're not allowed to say, we want it to be that, but
what is that?
We're, like you said, we're never going to get there.
Yeah. Like, what is that even?
Yeah, and everybody's going to have a different view of it. And what I think is going to be perfect is going to be different. Man, I'm sure if I had somebody his Fiverr guy produce mine and make it, I would have been like, oh, that's awesome. I don't know, maybe not, but we're all going to have different thoughts on that or different views on that. So it's not going to exist, that perfect thing. Just do the thing.
Do the damn thing.
And then just like hide a little bit whenever all these people are watching it now. Just be like,
no,
oh,
don't
gosh.
hide. Don't hide. 10x. Get it out to everybody.
Oh.
Get it out to everybody. I like one of the things that Ramil said the other day when we were talking about when you were making your calls, and he even so I know he'll never brag on himself, so I got to brag on the guy. The guy's at 100% conversion for conversations to appointments with for sale owners, by the way, for the last 3 weeks. Like, he hasn't been said no to yet. So I told him that pretty soon he's going to have to teach the class because I'm going to bow out. I'm just going to hand it over. And yet at the beginning, you said that you still had your own fears and limiting beliefs around it, and you sat there and stared at it and had to say, okay, I want this more than I fear it. Is that, am I paraphrasing that right? I mean, wasn't that your mantra?
Yeah, that's it. Yep, I want it more than I fear it. Yep.
How simple is that? And it's exactly this, right? I remember very specifically sitting down in a training room by myself. I invited the entire office. I had 210 people in this office, and I walked around and I said, hey, I'm going to be making calls every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 11 in the training room. If you'd like to join me, I'd love to have some company. You make your calls, I'll make my calls. Guess who showed up? 2 other people. I remember sitting there staring at my computer. 200 people were like, that's a fantastic idea. Good for you. Go. High five. And then 2 people showed up, and I was like, oh, awesome. And then we just started doing it. And I remember just watching other people going past the door, like looking in, going, what's going on in here? And and they would come in and listen, and they would stand and listen. But then the 3 of us would just sit there and be ripping through our list. And it was absolutely terrifying every single day. And yet we did it anyway, because there was a couple of us, right? So, God, I wish I could tell you that the hesitancy and the fear ever goes away. And it never does. Because you just have a different level of call to make.
How do you get over a fear or limiting belief that someone who's just crushing the physical calls in your market, that you could actually talk to the same people they're talking to and convert them?
Here's the thing. I don't know anybody that has 100% market share anywhere, in a neighborhood, in a subdivision, in a zip code, in a city. There are thousands of agents, and he's not the only one calling. And there may be someone that has a certain vibe that goes, you know, I like both of them, but like for whatever reason, like I align with Michelle, or what, like there's plenty. It's the same thing as like, okay, whether you approach the ocean with a dump truck or a spoon, who's gonna take all the water? There's enough.
Well, if I'm not going to get a listing and it's going to Ramil, I'm still going to cheer him on. he's pretty awesome.
And again, there's still what, 5,000 agents, 6,000, 10,000 agents in your market, right? So like, don't focus on the one. There's so many. And and even though there's so many, there's still plenty. Other thoughts around this conversation? Because this is about like, so yeah, so this is the workshop piece. It's like, we talk about tactics, strategies, systems, scripts ad nauseum. There's nothing new. We go over the foundations, the fundamentals. Everyone knows what 4 pillars they need in their business. Every pillar, there's several different versions, flavors, or ways that you can implement a system around it. And we talk about it all the time. What keeps you from slowing down enough to create and then implement and deploy the system? And for me, I could tell you one thing. It was number one, I kept thinking that I had to go full blast into the generation side and like calling and calling and calling and calling. But what I was missing was the gigantic net on the back end through a really great system. Because when I call, my opportunity to convert on first call or first meeting was 2 to 4%. But with a solid follow-up and campaign over time, I was converting 15%. So if I took the time, if I took the week or the 5 days that it would take to create my smart plan, to get my mailers, to get my marketing done, to get my letters printed, to have it all laid out, and then say, okay, now I'm going to deploy, and then we're going to run this play, I was now converting at a 15% or 3 to 4 times greater than if I would have just kept making the calls, because I had to slow down a little bit to create a bigger net on the back end. So many of us are unwilling to slow down because you feel like you constantly have to be going full blast. And those are the people that I love to play racing video games with. It's the people that don't know how to slow down to go around a turn. They always keep crashing. And smooth is fast, slow is smooth, like around the corners. This is the same thing. Sometimes you got to slow down going up to the curve. The curve is your new opportunity, the new strategy, the new tactic. You've got to slow down, create and develop the system, and then get around the turn and then go full blast and start throwing people over your shoulder into this new bucket that you just created. So what's holding you back? What fear? What limiting belief? And maybe the fear is, oh, well, somebody else is starting to do this. So why would I spend the time creating the system if somebody's out there crushing it? Well, they're doing really well on step one. And it's a 16-step process. So
I had that thought when I was at Build a couple weeks ago, and there's these girls that have created this online community and doing events and all kinds of stuff, some stuff that Michelle and I talked about, and they literally laid everything out step by step, like handed us all the information for how they did it. And I was like, man, they're telling us we're everybody in here is not, we're competitors, but not competitors, right? But they're literally telling us all how to do it. And I sat there thinking, that's when I wrote down the thing, like, I wonder how many people in this audience actually leave here and do anything, do something. That's why they're not afraid of putting everything out there, because they know nobody's going to do it, or 1% of the people listening are going to do it. And so that kind of changes it whenever we do have those thoughts or fears. Well, I can't do this because they're doing that, or he's going to do this, or they were talking about this. They're not going to do it. They're not. They might start, they might talk about it, but they're not actually going to jump all in and do it.
or stay consistent.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a difference between getting started and then having it be part of your systems that are non-negotiable. Like it's something that you do every day, day in and day out. There's a difference. There's a lot of people that are really great startups. And then they get busy. And then they get like super excited about it. So then they stop doing what it took to get them to get busy. And then they go, oh, no, what? No. Oh, well, this doesn't work. And then they went to a new seminar, a new convention. Somebody had a different system that was really exciting and had to do with video and AI. And that's more like it, because that means I have to call less. And because I don't like to call, remember our opportunity, because we don't like to call, because I don't like being called. So, but this next strategy's got AI and video, and I can make a fake version of me, and I can type out my text, and I can make it learn my voice, and it'll actually be me and a version of me that I like to look at that sounds cool, but it's fake. I don't know. Now I'm just riffing.
Okay, I think you're right though, and that's we always talk about this roller coaster of real estate, and I think that's where a lot of us get stuck, is we do get that momentum, and then as soon as we get busy, we don't get the leverage that we need, and because we don't have the leverage that we need, we have to slow down, but we don't slow down to build up our systems or processes or provide, get that leverage. We're slowing down because we've got to do all of the stuff ourselves, and then you start on that process again and again and again.
Yeah, at every level there's a faith jump, if you will, that you either have to put in more time, more energy, more resources to build out before you can start to recoup. Whether that's deploying a system, whether that's investing in a mailer, whether that's investing in another tool or technology, whether that's bringing on a virtual assistant, whether that's starting to bring on a showing assistant or other agents. And even when you bring on talent, you're going to have to take time out and become a leader. And every time you level up, your sales is is how you start. Leadership is how you exit. If you want to do this forever, don't worry about leadership. Just sell. And then you can do this till you die. No one will stop you. However, if your goals and dreams are to not have to buy and sell and take buyers and sellers through houses for the rest of your life until you can't walk any longer, then you're going to have to develop leadership, which is identifying, finding, and hiring talent, which is helping people, creating systems and P&G manuals and SOPs, and being able to slow down and document everything you're doing, so then you can bring somebody over, but then having done it enough that you can show up with, like, you can show up with integrity, and then walk somebody through and say, okay, for the first 30 days, here's going to be your biggest challenge. And then we're just going to focus on this. And then after that, you're going to do this, but here's the book. Here's the step-by-step. The issue is that it took you 3 to 5 years to get a good enough in sales to then be ready to start hiring people. But you weren't as good today. You weren't as good as you are today on day one in sales. So what makes you think you're going to be as good as a leader on day one as you will be in 5 years? The problem is you are going to mess this up. You are going to run people off. You're going to make mistakes, but like, that's, so what? That's the toll. That's what it takes to get there. And yet so many people go, well, I tried it once, or I was on a team and it wasn't good and I didn't like it. Well, guess what? They were still figuring it out too. They were level 1 leaders, but they were level 10 salespeople. And that's the challenge. Sometimes you're in relationship with really great executioners, but they're not amazing implementers or leaders. Somebody asked a really good question on a Facebook post, and I kind of commented on it, and it was about coaching. And one of the things that I didn't add to it is, one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made was looking for a coach that did more than me versus a coach that helped people like me do more. And it's the difference between joining Michael Jordan's team, and if Michael Jordan's the coach and you had a choice between Jordan or Phil Jackson. Well, has Jordan actually done more as a player than Phil did? So Phil Jackson was an NBA player and he was good. He was in the NBA. But did he have as many national championships as Jordan? No, Jordan was better physically, better genetically, etc. However, it took a Phil Jackson to get the best out of Jordan and then create a team around Jordan and then be able to help that, right? So one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was only seeking out those that are doing more than me versus the people that have helped more people get beyond. Does that make sense? All right, we're at time. What are your biggest ahas and takeaways from today's call?
Just go do the dang thing. Just do it. Just go do it.
That's too simple. Audra, stop it. You have to be more complicated. You should really complicate that.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Then it can't be valuable.
Oh, but it is the most valuable thing for me.
It's gotta
do the thing.
It's gotta be more. It's gotta be more to it than that.
Do it scared.
Dumbest call ever. What a waste of time.
But that's why people don't do it, because they're like, oh, it can't be that simple.
Guys, it is. This is it. Anyone else? Other thoughts? Takeaways from today's call?
I wrote down what you said before you started recording, that some of you are winning just enough that you're losing. And I completely fall into I mean, that feels like it's me. Just so much, like I completely fall into that, because I'm not, like, even when I started coaching with you, which was about almost a year and a half ago, when I had first started doing coaching with you. And I know it's like I'm doing over $100,000 a year, and I don't even have like my database together, and I just like so much business. I mean, it's great that it just kind of comes to me, but I don't really work for a lot. I know I work for it, but I don't go out and do a lot of things, and I don't have a lot of systems and stuff in place. And when there's times that the business just doesn't like come authentically, then I just don't have anything. Like I ride the roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah. When there's no purpose, there's no control.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you have a charisma based business, then you are also subject to the whims of your people. That's it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you're completely knocking out an entire leg of the business that you can have.
Like 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, there's three legs that we're missing if we're only focusing on our charisma and hoping that people just come to us. Yeah. That's
But
not
I
a
think I got
yeah.
I think I got two legs.
Good.
I don't
Okay,
think I
good.
just do. I don't think
Good.
I mean, I do like a couple things, just not like
I
I don't
I
do.
wasn't calling you out. I'm just
Yeah.
making sure all the other charisma based businesses are on
Yeah.
notice.
Yes.
Right on. All right. I know we're a little bit over time. Does anyone have one last final aha or takeaway from today's call? What'd you get?
Anyone watch the Olympics? I have a tie in here.
Go ahead.
If you haven't watched Lyle's story, he just won the 100 by like a lean. And it all came back to because he started practicing his start. He realized that he just needed to get a tenth better and that he could win. So he literally took the last 3 years and practiced every single race on his start.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He won by focusing on the beginning.
Yep.
That's neat. Cool.
He has the fastest closing of anyone. He couldn't keep up in the start.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, guys. Have an amazing Wednesday. We will see you Friday. Later.